I'm going to try something different today. This camera is going to keep moving around because it's following me. I am coming to you from Ilara, my portal to the fairies and freedom. This is my schoolie bus. And yes, I'm wearing a little necklace with a real butterfly inside. And I'm wearing it just cause. I'm not gonna ask my little girls why they want to wear a necklace on their head. Obviously it looks like a crown with a butterfly. And I felt like with having to eat some humble pie today, I would eat it with class and pizzazz. Wow. Okay. I don't even know where to begin. I'm in awe right now of the messages that I have been receiving. Like, I'm not moving. It's going back and forth like, where are you? Where are you? And recently, my intention has been, when I'm praying and meditating, to please, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. I am willing to be wrong. I'll be the first person to stand up and say, I'm wrong. And so, under medicine, I was proved wrong. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And what's weird is it wasn't like I was being downloaded it literally was like, I already knew this. How did I forget? That's how it felt. It wasn't like, oh, I'm getting information from another thing, from blah, blah, blah. And, I'm receiving it from something else. It literally popped up like, I've always known this, and how did I not know? How did I not remember that I already knew? And I actually saw the levels of the layers that were coming off piece by piece of me knowing, but not integrating because I didn't remember. I knew, but I didn't remember. And I needed to put those two together. I needed to remember and know. Wait, I needed to know and remember. Because when it's coming from within and you're getting it, that's when you get it. And now I understand what Alan Watts was saying when he says, when you're trying to describe, like Jesus, he said, this is for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Because otherwise, you cannot teach a blind person how to see color, and you cannot describe color and have them see it. And there's so many times where we're just like, oh, this is taking so much energy. Well, then stop saying it. Keep it for yourself. You're not going to have anybody really truly understand you until they see for themselves, until they know. They can say, oh, I think this woman is awesome. She's got amazing character. She's fun. She knows a lot. She's very powerful. All these things. But until you know that, and what's crazy is, I almost got myself into another one right there. A lot of us think we know that we know that we know. And what it is we know that reality, that story very well. And so we think we know that we know that we know. Can you be under the hot seat and be wrong? Can you go through refinement? Can you completely let go of the idea that you already know everything? And that things have to be a certain way. Otherwise, it's, scary, demonic. And all that is fear of the unknown. This winter womb, I've gone inside and I wrote 3 books for shadow work. They are like ice cream, eating ice cream compared to the shadow work I did this winter. And they're just introductions, because I was just barely touching the surface. And that's great, because you can't start off going way deep without gradually getting there. I don't even know if I'm not even gonna say that. I am making sense to those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. I know that. But I'm all over the place, and that's because I want to be authentic with you. I don't want it to be performed in a way where it's literally coming in so quickly. And so today I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to eat humble pie, because while I was under medicine, it was like, how attached are you to the identity of being a healer, and that the world needs to heal? Because, and a lot of times we tend to focus, and like that Cherokee parable, the grandfather was teaching his son about the wolves, the wolves that destroy and the wolves that bless, or the wolves that give. And he's like, well, which one wins? And he's like, the one you feed. And that's so true. So I've had this idea of what things should look like, what a marriage should look like, what a husband should be, what a life would be, have everybody be situated a certain way. So I'm telling myself a story about what it needs to look like. And then what I do is I'm observing how it's not that way. And so guess what? It's not that way. So I was observing my husband as being a child. I was observing him being a narcissist. I was observing him being emotionally abusive. I was observing him doing these things, believing that I wanted something different, yet trying to prove myself wrong. And because I focused on what was wrong, that grew. Does that make sense? Anytime you are looking for something wrong in anyone, you're gonna find it, because that's what you're looking for. Now, I've worked in court systems and stuff. My company, Kairos Recovery, just dissolved this last December. And we had this system of working with peers and supportive employment and all that kind of stuff. And we were working in the courthouses of Williamson County, and, working in the mental health docket, and understanding that they go to classes, the judges and the attorneys, so that they can find out where the truth lies. There's courses on this, psychological, witness, that kind of stuff. There's all these different courses, and I forget the name of them right now, and it doesn't really matter, because y'all can look that up. Because 500 people can see the same thing, and not one of them will tell the same story. And I've said that to so many people, but they're not actually believing it. It's like they don't tell the same story. It is coming through all their little filters and all the things that they've believed and all the little stories, and not one of them says the same thing. So they have to try to line up what kind of fits, and like it's this little puzzle to see if there's a line. My husband and I used to always fight about, oh, well, you said this. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. I heard you. Are you telling me I'm crazy? No, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. This is what you said. You were sitting right there. And see, me, I'm very detail oriented. He is not. And so I would be like, you were wearing this, you had coffee in your right hand. I mean, I'm one of those people that you don't want to watch a movie with, because in certain personalities that I take on, I literally am like, look, that's not even the ocean. The waves aren't moving. His hair was parted this way, now it's that way. I could be one of those, are they called grips in the movies? Like cigarettes here, hair's wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry. And people have been like, you're ruining the movie for me. And I'm like, but how did they not notice? It's not in law. I'm very detailed. I notice things that other people don't notice. So I would literally go by my photographic memory of what I saw and tell him that. And that was convincing him. Most of the time it wouldn't convince him. He was like, you're telling me I'm crazy. I didn't do that. But I was manipulating him to see my story. Does that make sense? Because my story, I was detailed. I've always been a great storyteller. And I was detailed at being able to tell him exactly what I heard him say, how he was sitting, how he was holding the cup, to where in the back of anybody's mind, they're going to be like, wait, Was I sitting that? I mean, I know I said one thing. And when I started doing all of this inner work with shadows and realizing we have two different realities we live in, seriously. And people are like, no, you guys are literally in the same reality. That's not what I'm talking about. Our inner state produces an outer state that's completely different. His inner nervous system and his inner state is completely different than the structure of my inner state. And so as I'm like going through all of this shadow work and everything, I'm like, oh my God. And so one day I saw one of the cats running out, Ollie, actually our cat Ollie, running out from the kitchen and going straight down the hall, running into the bedroom and starting to fight a cat. No, opposite, sorry. I heard a fight in the kitchen and I see Ollie come running out of the kitchen going straight into the bedroom, Jerry's bedroom. Jerry and I are in separate rooms, and I'll tell you that story another time too. So I'm like, what is going on here? I asked Jerry, he's in the kitchen, you know, he's cooking something or he's doing something in the kitchen. I don't know what he's doing. I'm like, who is Ollie fighting with in the kitchen? And he's like, oh, Ollie wasn't even in here. I think there was a fight going on in the bedroom. And I'm like, no, I just heard Ollie fighting with a cat in the kitchen and then watched him run out of the kitchen like a freaking bat out of hell with, you know, his basically his tail on fire going into the bedroom. And Jerry's like, no, he wasn't even in here. I'm telling you, that fight was going on in my bedroom. And I'm like, no, I literally saw him. I'm not lying. I saw him come out of the kitchen and run down the hall and go into your room. And then Jerry goes, are you saying that I'm freaking crazy? And I can see he's getting upset. And that's when it went, deet, deet, deet. It was like an aha moment. Like, oh my God, that is how we literally are vibrating in two different realities. We are in two different realities. He's processing everything through his stories, his creations, his constructs, his programming, his whatever it is, you know, the stories we tell ourselves. And so he's going to see everything different. And yes, that was a huge difference. The fight I saw was coming from the kitchen, cat running into his room, where all he was hearing and experiencing was a cat fight in his bedroom, which wasn't even happening in my reality. In his reality, it was. In my reality, it was not. That is when I was like, oh my gosh, I really got to dig deeper because I already know this, meaning I'd heard it, I'd read about it, I'd been in courtrooms where they were using these kinds of techniques to find out if they could find the absolute truth. How is that even possible when there's so many freaking people in the world, right? So you just have to keep digging, peeling off the layers, peeling off the layers. Well, why would anybody tell themselves a story like that? And so I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Okay, so this is actually real. So there's a difference between hearing it, understanding that that's a possibility, then knowing it, between remembering it. Like, oh. So there's all these layers. You hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that's a possibility. Then you hear it again in another layer or another reality, another dimension, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I could see that. And then comes another dimension and you're like, okay, yes, I know this absolutely. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I remember. And so that's why it was like under medicine. It was like, no, I've known this. I've known this, and I saw all the levels and the layers of the understanding as I peeled more veils and more onions away of the knowing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So during this, the medicine was asking me, can you or whichever way you want to say it. You could say the medicine, you could say the spirit through the medicine, you could say God, you could say whatever it is. It's just the communication, right, with all that is. And I was like, oh my God, what the shit? So come to find out, I would look at Jerry and I would be like, you're not healing. You're not doing the work. You're not doing the shadow work. You're not going within. You're not participating in medicine ceremonies. You're not praying. You're not reading the Bible. You're not studying. You're not doing any of this stuff. So you're not doing the work, and I'm having to do all the fucking work. And I would say that. And I would be like, this isn't fair. This is not fair. Well, guess what? Who's the one that told the story about what way needed to be to heal? Who also continued to look at him like he was unhealed? I'm the one who's seeing him in this way, and so guess what? I'm creating the story. And a part of him is agreeing with it. Because you don't have power over another person. You think you do, and you can manipulate them, but ultimately they have to agree. And so both of you guys can come into agreement with all kinds of lies, all kinds of stories that you want to tell yourself. And that's completely okay, but we're creating it. And what we do, because all we have is now. People are like, oh, but the past. The past what? The past that's in the now? That you're pulling from a memory, from the now into the now, and all these different dimensions. And so the future now, all we have is now. So in this now, can you be wrong? And I'm like, yes, I can be wrong. If I'm always attached to the idea that I'm a healer, then am I continuously creating a world that needs to be healed? What do I focus on? That the world needs to heal? The world needs to get it right? Or do I need to remember that the world already healed? The world never was sick. I know now. I'm the writer of my own story. And that's like, I remembered. So I get to put these on. I get to play little girl. I get to let my little fairy, I always would say growing up, because I danced with fairies, I danced with angels, I still do. I dance with the tree spirits. I've always communicated with animals. They communicate back to me, the plants and the trees, and all of that is constantly talking to me. I used to always rewrite. And I've been in the process of rewriting the story, understanding I'm the freaking author here. And I'm like, oh. So I've been telling Jerry it's going to be hard to heal. Is he really sick? No. Are we any of us sick? No. We're playing it, yes. And can I observe and with absolute unconditional love and let go of control? Well, I just want him to heal. I want everybody to heal. Wanted to honor his journey. It's his choice. Can you honor the choice without having to change it? Can you honor his story as an author for his life without having to rewrite his book? That's basically what I was being told. You're your own author. Do you have to change his book? I'm like, oh no, I don't have to change his book. I can honor it. I can love him unconditionally. Does it mean he needs to still be in my book? No, it doesn't matter. What matters is the idea attached to it only being one way, or another way, or another way. That is boxing things into control. And how many, when you have a bunch of boxes, what does that equal finally? What does it equal when you have a bunch of boxes put together? A program. We're not in the box, we're in the space between the boxes, and we keep visiting these different boxes so that we can experience everything in there, and then we got lost in the character that's in the box, forgetting that we're not even in the box, that we're the space between observing the box. And I was just incredibly, like, grateful to remember that and to eat some freaking humble pie. I'm like, I'm sorry. If you want to be a little kid and all the things that you want, go for it. It's your freaking story. Why do I have to try to author your story? Why do I have to try and author anybody's story but my own, right? What a weight. Lift it off. Weight. And so now I get to play because it's my story. I'm telling my story, and in my story, I'm completely loved right where I'm at. I am fine. I'm healed. I was never sick to begin with. I just forgot. Holy moly. That's freaking awesome. And this is not coming back this way. It's not. Come on, come on, come on, come on. No. Ooh. I'm not used to this thing. So, humble pie. I'm probably going to be eating a lot more this week. More humble pie. Bring it! Bring it on! I love this. It's an adventure. And I love my avatar. She's very fun.